Hi, second graders. It's time for writing again. You guys should be really proud of yourselves. By now, you've completed your monster story. So you've written your first really super long narrative. And now what we need to do is we actually need to go back and double check it. A lot of times when you're writing, especially when you have a lot of writing to do, you might do it kind of quickly and you might forget some things such as punctuation and spelling essential words correct. So today's the day we go back and edit our work. So editing is the process where we reread what we wrote and we make changes to do with the structure of the sentences and with capitals, periods, and those kind of things. So those are really what we call the no excuses for second grade when we're writing. So when you go through and you edit, the number one thing I'd like you to do is you're going to want to take your story and you're going to want to read it out loud. And the reason you're going to want to read it out loud is because you'll be able to naturally tell if you needed to put punctuation in and you needed to put a period or an explanation point. A lot of us tend to not put any punctuation in and it just be the whole story, one long sentence. So what I like you to do is try to read that, and if you find yourself just totally out of breath and you needed to pause naturally, that's where you put in your punctuation. So the first thing you're going to do is read it out loud, look for punctuation. You're going to also make sure every sentence starts with a capital letter. That is a no excuse, something that we need to do in second grade. We want to start our sentences with, we don't like to start it with and or because. Those are conjunctions that go in the middle of a sentence, and we don't want to start any sentences with those. We also want to make sure our first sentence is really interesting, which I know we already did when we started the writing process, and we want to make sure we have a beginning, middle, and end, which I also know we did since we followed this process so critically. So this should be a pretty easy day, hopefully. When you go through and you're looking at your spelling, what I'd like you to do is take out your orange folder and go ahead and open it up to your level 2 core words and your spell checker. And I want you to, those words, looking over them, you'll know what words that you should, no excuse, should have spelled right all the time. So go back, double check your spelling in your story as well. The nice thing is that we wrote it, remember, on that lined paper where there's a space underneath in between each line. So instead of you rewriting or even marking up the paper erasing, you can always make the correction right underneath the word. And that might be an easier way to go about this. So for today, you're going to go into Seesaw. I did a warm-up editing little paragraph for you to do just to get your editing brain working and to see if you can find the 9 mistakes I made in my paragraph. After you do that and you're warmed up, then I want you to read your paragraph out loud, and then that way you can naturally tell where punctuation goes. I want you to look for capitals that made sure every sentence started with a capital, and I want you to check some spelling as well to make sure your core words are spelled correctly. It's always helpful too if you can read it to someone else, an adult in your house or a sibling, which will help you because our next process in next week we'll be actually reading these stories in front of the class. So it'll be really good practice if you do that in advance. Okay, so get your editing hats on and get to work.